we looked at coming up prior to this, but when I talked to my people further up the line, they said that Paul's the expert in this type of a settlement that you've got here. So that's why I've got Paul here. And so I'll let you introduce yourself and give your history and your work record and all that sort of stuff, and your prison number.
You know, an expert, isn't it?
Yeah. Drip under pressure.
So I'm an Portuguese. So my job at the moment is I'm a risk reduction advisor. I started my career in fire back in the forestry, probably back in the early 80s at some age, and then I was in Western Australia as a career firefighter. In the city there in Perth, and we did a lot of big vegetation fires as well there. Then I moved to Auckland and became an urban firefighter there. And I've kind of travelled the world a bit. I've been back to Aussie a couple of times, and I I worked for DOC for quite a number of years as well, Department of Conservation. I actually look after the Manatā Scenic Reserve, so I know the lay of the land. With DOC, I was specialised in rural fire there, so I've done a lot of big national deployments on fire, especially up north and in Australia as well. I've done a couple of deployments over there. So I'm kind of, and currently I'm also a volunteer in the Urban Brigade in Portuguese, so kind of a bit of a wide range. That's my background. Do you want to jump to you, Nick, or you want to carry on?
So the reason I've asked Nicole to come up is Nicole's born and bred in Manatā. She's one of the Dobsons, but she wised up and got married, so she could ditch the surname. Now she's a Horrocks. So Nicole grew up in this area, but I'll let you explain where you are now.
Yes, I'm also advisor risk reduction, same role as Paul. I don't have much of the rural wildfire background, but my, I suppose, side of things is more of the technical side. So things that relate to this would be firefighter warning supplies, all that type of fun stuff there, and fire investigator. That's kind of where I am. For me, I don't have as much of a background as Paul, but
Still young.
still slightly younger. So joined Manatā Fire at 16. It was more of a, so when are you joining, not if, for our family. We ended up going up to Auckland for a bit and getting into the career space in risk reduction or fire investigation, and that's kind of, we did a restructure, and it brought the kind of the rural side and that technical side together in Fenton a couple of years ago, and so that's where I managed to secure a full-time position back down in the Bay. So I'm back down at home, bought my grandfather's whare, so that's been good. But yeah, I'm here to help with any of those other technical questions. Happy to help with any of the other home fire safety stuff that you've got. We can organise, I was talking to our community team today, and they're happy to, if we want to organise any home fire safety visits to your places, and they're probably in the new year now, going by the time we are now, but basically it's just a free service that we offer. They'll come in, talk to you about some fire safety stuff in the home, make sure you've got smoke alarms, they can install smoke alarms for you, all that type of thing. So they're happy to do that. We're having to organise it, even if we can potentially, if it works, to kind of, if most people are interested, to try and smash it out in one day. That would probably be ideal, just for resources, I guess. But otherwise, yeah, my other side is firefighter warning supplies, so ensuring that our crews, when they arrive, have a potential for a water source. So as some of you may know, our appliances already carry a certain amount of water, and then we need other resources, tankers, that type of thing. So a lot of councils are taking on the firefighter warning supply code, where there's a requirement for about 45,000 litres to have on site. Not all councils do that, and it's usually part of the consent process, so it comes through on that side of things. So if you ever see that, that's when we kind of step in and assist with that side of things too. Either see if you've got enough water source that you don't require it, or help you get in touch with the people that can source it for you.
So that's Nicole. My name's Gavin Dennis. I wear a few hats around here. I'm your local district councillor. God help me. Spent all day trying to beat the rates down a little bit. So I'm your district councillor, I'm a justice of the peace. I am the chief forester of Matata, joined 36 and a half years ago, so I brought these guys because I don't know what I'm doing. I am also help organise the local Matata Civil Emergency Response Team, so the Matata CERT, in regard to tsunamis, earthquakes, bushfires, volcanoes, every other thing. So I've just basically organised these folk to come and talk to you. So to start with, the reason you asked us here was because of the risk of bushfire and the extreme heat apparently we're meant to get this year. So maybe we'll start off with Paul and see where we end up.
No, and it's a good discussion because you know, big picture view is a good way of looking at, you know, especially when you're living in an environment like this. And we were alarmed earlier on in winter that there's going to be a super El Nino, and then we had quite a bit of rain after that, and people kind of got maybe a bit complacent. But if you know anything about El Nino, it actually is off the coast of Ecuador, running along the equator, and it's a body of water that warms up warmer than normal, and it's in place. So what we're seeing actually today is a good example of what typically we probably get over the next few months. That's been forecasted, except for the odd tropical cyclone might change that every now and then, but it's these strong westerlies, maybe cooler, but it's definitely drier. So it's kind of today, this morning I walked outside, but oh yeah, this is what you kind of expect in that kind of environment. So for you good folk here, living here, and you're in a beautiful spot, you kind of got a southeast, is it? Maybe a southeast aspect, which is is a cooler, and typically a cooler. Well, southwest is even more cooler and more damper, typically in New Zealand, as an aspect of a hill, because usually your northwest is a hotter and drier side. So there's something in your favour, and why I bring that up is because you look at your bush, you can go here to here, and you see, and a lot of it's regen, of course, that was here. Obviously it cleared. You've got your you've got your Kānuka, Mānuka species, which are our most flowerable natives. They're quite tall, the ones I've seen as I've come up. I don't know further up what it's like. Rewa where you got up there, but in the gullies you've got a lot of broadleaf, softer leaf stuff that is not as flammable. So it's in your favour that you're on a southeastern aspect. But I don't know what's happening up there. So that's something, we'll start off with that. Well, that's something, so you've got that in favour. So typically if a fire was to take off at the bottom, I'm just trying to think of a day where you've got a wind, probably would say a very strong easterly, it's been very dry. What's the fire behaviour? Because that'd be what you're interested in. What's the fire behaviour going to be like? It would run up in fingers. Wind dependent, you know. If the wind is really strong, you see those images you see overseas in Australia and the States and that of those ember storms where it's getting transferred. You're typically probably not going to get that so much here because of the nature of New Zealand forest. Not saying that it wouldn't have a very extreme fire behaviour to do that here. I don't know, what's the vegetation a lot up the top? Is it similar to this, or is it shorter? Much the same. So it'd be similar all the way up. So we'll start out in the bigger picture. You've got your house blocks here, you've got your ngāhere, your bush all around. So you'd want to think, well, we talk about a defensible space. So what that means that if a fire did come up one of these gullies or ridges, is it going to get me? That's the question you ask. So what's ahead of you? You know, if it's going to come up, fire comes up. It always comes up faster than it goes down. And being an aspect like this, it will come up. What have you got planted on that edge? So I see you did really good residence information pack. I got through that, and it's got a really good list of native plants. Very sourced from our website, maybe. I don't know where you got the information from.
Yeah, Cass, right, she's not here.
Yeah. So really good info, and on our website it's in there. You know, it doesn't give you every New Zealand native, because you'll have in your covenant you'll have what you can plant here. I expect. You can't plant gorse.
Take that out.
Yeah, you take that one out. Yeah. So as I said before, the key in New Zealand, the most flammable plants are Kānuka and Mānuka, and they are Myrtaceae species, which means they're the same family as eucalyptus. So they carry a lot of oils, and the coastal Kānuka is very volatile, the oils actually. You hear a lot of people extracting Mānuka oil. That has a flash point around about 75 degrees. So that means at 75 degrees it can self-ignite. Kānuka is around about 35. So yeah, so they only do that in laboratories. They won't do that typically for medicine and stuff. So you can I only use that as an example because it shows it is a flammable plant. So okay, you got your Kānuka, Mānuka, usually as an establishment plant, but put your softer, greener leaves, your grissolineas, the coprosmas and those sort of things in around your house, and leave a space. I mean, everyone has their own style of landscaping and that, but you know, this is only something. I'm just picturing a house here. You know, if you did have a fire and it got into a crown, we call it a crown fire, and what that does, typically a native, it doesn't do it as much, but it will, you know, it does it in pine forest where it goes up off the ground and races through the canopy. So if you had it going through here, what's the risk? Well, the risk is embers coming out of that and landing on your house, your patio furniture, your trampoline guy? Castle. Your trampoline, those sort of things, you know, that are flammable. So being wise about that. So in here, I think there was some really good info about how being prepared, and I've got other brochures to hand out. So preparation means, you know, pre-summer, just cleaning your gutters out, because it's amazing. Because you know what happens to your gutters if you leave them, and they've got even that algae growth and a few needles and stuff. What happens in summertime when it's not rain for a couple of weeks? What happens to that stuff? It goes out like paper, eh? It's quite flammable. So that's where it can get in, and then it can enter underneath your roof basically into your.
Goes in through your building paper.
Yeah.
You've got the old style building paper that it gets into your trusses.
Yeah. Decks, you know, you've got decks like that, and after a period of time, stuff builds up. Having bark around your gardens, as much as they look lovely, you've kind of got a fuel source. It's not, I mean, here you wouldn't want to be too paranoid, you know, compared with other places in New Zealand where you think, oh, okay, keeping the grass around the edges clear, coming up the driveway, not too bad most of it, but that's regularly mowed, you know, any long grass, you've got a spot there that's obviously going to be, look, that's probably the biggest fire risk, that little hillock there, with Mānuka grown in there, or Kānuka, and you've got long grass. That typically, I mean, you look at grass curing at the moment, you look down at the grass and you go, what percentage of it is dead? And you can look down there are dead stems, just roughly you're looking at about 50% of it. But come 2 weeks' time, what's it going to be, 60, 70%? Maybe a month time, that grass is finished seeding, it goes dry. It's a very high fire source. Because fire doesn't start in a tree, it starts in something fine, usually it's grass. So those are things to think about. Do any of you guys use fire? I mean, have you burnt stuff? Have you burnt stuff? Yeah. Okay. So I think it's about 99% of all fires in New Zealand start by people, generally men, a certain age bracket.
What's the age bracket?
Older than you.
Fingers around.
So that's another area to talk about is fire permitting. So you would have seen, I think I've got an illustration, one of these pamphlets here. You would have seen along the highways our grapefruit sign.
Yeah.
Okay, people go, what do they mean? You know, low, moderate, high, very high, extreme, and then Australia has catastrophic now. So what does that mean? Generally, what that is based on weather data. So we have Fire Emergency New Zealand owns weather stations. We've got one down at the airport in Whakatane, Kauro, and probably Rotaehu probably. Up the back would be the closer ones here. So, what was that?
I think that was
That's it. Yeah. So, what they do is they're collecting data. They're collecting humidity, wind speed, rainfall, and with that data, the temperature, it gets stored and it goes through a calculation and it works out basically how dry the fuel is, how dry the soil is, and then it also works out how fast the fire will travel. Basically that goes in, that all goes calculated and added up. They've got these matrices that work out and it goes to those levels, low, moderate. At the moment we're sitting on moderate, which changed from last week, which we were low. So at the moment we're moderate, and maybe into next week we could be high. Maybe in some patches in the district. So what that does then, and that also triggers us to go to fire season. So at the moment we're open. That means you can burn without a permit. So you can stack up a big light up, or you want to build the herbicide, you can go ahead and burn it. That's what open means. When it goes to restricted, it means that there is restrictions put on, and that you've got to consider some conditions. And so what that means is you've got to go and apply for a permit. Has anyone gone through our permitting system? Yeah. How was it? Honest?
Quite easy.
Quite easy.
Yeah, very easy. You just no, it was. It was.
I just do it online. So
They do it online now. Phone call and those days are gone.
another the team will the
You
team will still do
yeah,
it.
I know, but he's probably talking about council. So
it
it's
was all done online.
all done online. We can still ring an 0800, but so what that does, and I don't know if you've ever been on it, but it goes through quite a simple system where you go on, and it actually allows you to know whether you can actually light your fire today. So you can choose what kind of fire you're going to light. Is it a bonfire? Is it a hangi? Is it a pizza oven? Is it burning an area of scrub? So you can choose what kind. You can choose when. So we have a process where it's 5 days. You should allow 5 days for it to be processed. So if you've got all your grandkids and mates and that all turn up for New Year's, you go down to the beach, you want a bonfire, you put it in on that night, that afternoon, you're not going to get the permit. Because it takes 5 days, and generally most of us are on holiday that time of year. So, consider that. And what they're only conditions that will say, there's usually one about how far away to keep away from anything flammable, and wind conditions and stuff like that. And you put the pinpoint on the map. Just trying to think of any other areas where people go wrong or they get confused. The types of fire are pretty easy. The website's really good now. So that means that you can light a fire under those conditions. We only have an act, a law that we can work under. There's a whole lot of stuff we can't manage. So I have brought alongside, sorry if people don't like the regional council, but I brought, that's being filmed, isn't it? I love them myself. So they create their own bylaws, and they have bylaws, backyard burning bylaws for both urban and rural people. So I'll leave a couple of copies of this. So if we want to stack a pile of tyres, because we're like drag racing and we've got all these old tyres, we want to burn them, we will give you a permit if it meets, because we can't stop people lighting a fire off tyres. It's not in our act. our act is whether the ability to actually light the fire. If it's putting up black smoke, it's not our problem. It's the regional council. So I just brought that. That there will be on the permit application. It will say, have you looked at the local body bylaws? And that's in that area there. So the next one is prohibited, and that's a total fire ban, and that's when things are really dry. There'll be signs go up, but there'll be a lot of media stuff, and that's when, as a community, you got to be vigilant. You see smoke during a total fire ban, 111. If you get the chance going down and it's a Poriki man, I know what they like. And you see that there's smoke coming up, go and have a chat. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm lighting a hangi. I've got all my kids over. Is he allowed to light a hangi in a prohibited fire season?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. So that brings another. There's certain fire types. Certain fire types like cultural cooking type is one. Hangis, umus. What do they have in your country? They have a cultural fire. Barbecue. So there are certain fire types that you can have during a prohibited and restricted, but they change. And with a thing like hangi, it gets a little bit smaller because the hangi is pretty well watched all the time anyway. If it's burning, so it's being wise on those things. Any questions?
I'll jump in there and add a few
in.
things. So as a fire chief, if some person is driving from Whakatane and Tauranga and they look up the hills and say, my God, it's on fire, and they ring us up and we respond up here and we find out that you've got a little bonfire in a real clear area and you're burning some rubbish, we'll say to you, well, what measures have you got here, mate? Have you got a bucket of water? Have you got this? Have you got that? Have you actually done most of it? It's getting a bit windy. Do you want us to put it out for you because you've burnt most of it? Like, we went another way the other day and we said, look, as long as you don't put any more on, because it's blowing like crazy, you notice these sparks, so you just burn out what you're there. So we're reasonable. But if we come here and I can see the sparks touching the trees, I'll use the powers of the Chief Fire Officer, which means I can actually, what he's talking about is guidelines, but I have the responsibility, or whoever's in charge truck has responsibility, and I say, look, mate, I appreciate you want to get rid of your trees, but if this goes bad, you're going to burn your neighbour out, so we're putting it out. So last New Year's Eve, we had a guy there that was burning a burn-off, and it was quite a big area, and it started creeping up the hill to his neighbour's place. Oh, no, it'll be all right. I said, no, and we put the thing out. And so we have the right to do that. When it comes to the backyard burning, and someone calls us, we'll turn up, and if it's all under control, we'll go away. The second time we turn up, we have to put it out. If we turn up the first time you're burning plastics and it's blowing into your next door neighbour's house that's got asthma, we'll have a talk to you. And if you've been a dick, I'll put it out. Because we're a medical response unit too. So we make a call, and if possible, we let it keep going. But that's usually a little bit of discretion on our side. Most of the time, we'll try and let you keep going, but just as long as you've got a hose there and all that sort of stuff, we'll be good.
Will you check also if you've got a fire permit at the time? If you come up and it's a fire permit season?
No, I can't override a fire permit.
As long as you're following the conditions on the fire permit and
But-
it's still safe.
But if according to the fire permit, you're meant to have a hose there, or you're meant to have a clear patch of ground, and it's not meant to be blowing too hard, and I see that you've actually missed that, we'll help you put it out. But
We're good like that.
we're good like that. We're lovely. But we appreciate that people want to get rid of their rubbish, and so if everything's cool, we'll walk away and say, have a good day.
So not all of the properties are like Anthony's. Like there's probably only a couple that are this size.
Yeah.
Most others have bush closer in proximity and probably, maybe less than 10 metres away from their homes. And in some instances probably even narrower than that.
So in those instances, I can understand like Titirangi in Auckland's a bit like that, isn't it? People, it's a type of bush. So if you have Kānuka, Mānuka close, maybe, I don't know if you're allowed to.
You can within 20 metres of that building.
Yeah, you might want to drop them and put something else there, something broadleaf, you know, puka or something like that.
So is mingy mingy on the same thing as the?
Mingy mingy? Which mingy mingy?
So it's the
Oh,
well the prickly and the
Ceathodes.
soft one as well, because
Yeah.
we've got a bit of that close to the house.
it's not as
Not as
flammable. It's not as flammable
Wouldn't
as
have thought so.
yeah, because there's a caprosma mingy mingy too, which is a different. They're not. It's not as they're not as flammable. So there is. Listen, you can kind of tell.
You can smell it.
Yeah, and you could try lighting it with a lighter, as long as whatever's burning you don't. But there comes there's one thing, a question I was going to ask. What is the most important thing that you look at each day if you're going to light a fire or have a fire? What's the most important thing?
I would think that the wind would be. And has it rained the night before?
The weather, yeah. Look at the weather. Because a lot of days you wake up and it's like, I mean, like it is now, still, but come 2 o'clock. And I don't know what it's like here. I'm picturing on a very hot day, you'll get a breeze.
Yeah, it is probably a lot more shallow than Maratā, which gets consistent breeze because we are on the eastern side of this hill, so we don't get it in the same.
And it usually calms down by evening.
Yeah, that's right. So usually 2 o'clock's our trigger point for things kicking off. So if you're going to burn early, and then keep watching it through that 1 to 3, 4 o'clock kind of period where the day, that's usually the most heat in the day.
So basically from a wind perspective, because predominantly we've got that southerly southeaster coming in the morning,
Yeah.
and it's blowing quite hard, and then it drops off, and then normally depending, you swing around to that northwester sea breeze in the afternoon.
Okay. Well, you know your weather. That's good to know. So yeah, looking at the weather each day gives you an indication. Go online whether it's open season or not. If it's kind of been bucketing down all week and it's only one dry day, maybe in the middle of winter doesn't matter. But if it's like now, go online and see whether it's what the fire conditions are like. The access is the other one we talk about. You've got quite a good road up here, but your fire trucks need hard stand. It's not only fire; it's ambulance. Are the properties numbered as you drive into each driveway?
We sorted that out a while ago.
Yeah, that's a key thing, eh?
So do you guys have gate access for here?
Yes, we do.
Oh, that's mine.
Yep.
So you've got
So
a
we-
remote or something?
No, we've got the
Text
text
code?
code on our phones, and it's also in our trucks. And we also know you can step through the side gate, flick the thing, and whip it open.
Worst case
So-
scenario.
We've actually been for a tiki tour up here and had a look. And although your access road's really good, at the top where it doubles back around, you guys got to be careful that if you've got a fire going up there, you don't leave it too late to get back around that high point. Because once a fire gets up there, just one thing I was going to say in regard to that bonfire burning and all that, if you've checked it all right, it's really great, everything's good, the wind's low, and later on the wind picks up and you think, give us a call. We're happy to come up and water the edges or put it out if you want to. That's what we're there for. We'd rather do that earlier on than leave it too late and think, oh my gosh, So just give us a call.
Really, the biggest danger is ourselves. Is
Oh,
that
100%.
where this is all going? Which is like the chances if we have a fire up here is
People.
one of us have actually caused it as opposed to it coming from.
Well, you got the road at the bottom. I don't know. I can't remember where those pines are. How far?
They're pretty much gone now, the pines.
And there's not much access. Public access is pretty rugged in there. You have to be a mountain goat in there, don't you?
No public access anymore. Even the walking tracks are partially shut down and behind Maratā at this stage. They're trying to reopen them.
Yeah.
It's a real challenge to get up there.
Yeah, so you're pretty good there. It would be somebody here. Machinery, I mean that starts fires. That's the other thing I was talking about. If you've got a ride on and it's been sitting in the shed for a couple of weeks now at the moment, because starlings like to get in there and make nests on things, and you get going and you're off around doing the edge. The next minute it goes and you have to jump off. Machinery, checking machinery, even chainsaw when it's hot, putting it down. Where do you put it down? And just going through that thought process of what could happen. If you remember Pigeon Valley, which was a big fire they had in Nelson a few years ago, that burned a lot of forestry. That was started by a gentleman, and he was disking his paddock, and just a spark off the disc on a stone.
Wow.
We did one about 4 years ago where a guy had parked his tractor up and he went to start it up. Were you on that one? Can't remember where it was, somewhere around here. And he went to start it up and all of a sudden there must have been a bird's nest under the hood. It caught fire, burnt his whole tractor out, melted half the motor, melted part of the camper van next to it. It just goes,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought a tractor would have gone that fast, but man, it did some damage.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause I don't. What's the grass here? 'Cause it's not. This is not normal. You got kikuyu here?
Not so
Little
much.
bit.
Yeah. Kikuyu is quite a tricky grass. It looks green on top, but it's dry and it sneaks. The fire sneaks and that stuff. So being mindful of that, and it's not. And so it's not only fire. You know, these things, these discussions are good. You can apply them to a whole lot of. And it looks like you've got a good community network. That's the key thing, especially for the local brigade, is having communities that are resilient and onto it, keeping an eye on each other, you know, without being too much of an eye.
So you guys have a local, like a Facebook page or something like that you share on? Did you say?
Messenger.
Or Messenger or
We've got
something?
a messenger page.
Cool. So if there's any,
for the group, but the issue is that some people aren't necessarily tech savvy.
Yeah.
So it's trying to be able to get the message across to them.
Yeah.
So again, that's part of making sure that we know.
Yeah,
you
because
know,
we can.
and talk if we need to talk to them. Or
You
give
do
them
phone
something.
trees, like you ring 5 people, those people ring 5 people each, and after 2 calls you've about got everyone.
Yeah.
Because we can pass on information like when the fire season changes and that type of thing. We usually plaster all over all social medias anyway, and our own local pages.
Yeah.
So we can always make sure we send some stuff
Yeah.
through to someone.
That's
For
probably
all
the
of you,
key
or-
one is making sure what the fire seasons are and
Yeah.
when put a ban in place.
And you can kind of tell, you know. I mean, you guys doing trapping and stuff. So you know when you're in the bush when it starts to get crunchy, starting to get crunchy underfoot. That's when you know. And there's certain indicators. I mean, there's mingy. It's not mingy. Can't think of what the name of it now is. It's got a very soft green leaf. And it goes black when it's under stress. So if you see plants going through drought stress, then you know that we've had years. I mean, that 219, 220 year, we were losing.
That'll be the caravan.
No, it'll come to me. Yeah, it might do. It'll come to me in a
2
minute.
a.m.
Do that 5-fingery stuff, is it?
No, it's a little kind of heart shape, very soft. You can actually eat the leaves.
Oh,
Think,
Oh,
not
no, sorry.
Hangy.
Hangy. You've got hangy. When that goes black, then you know that's going through. Yeah, it's pretty rare that it does, but it will. So just knowing, being aware of what's going on around you, is a key thing.
Hunger frogs, quite.
Yeah. The
There's
pungas will
lots
give
of
up.
pungas up
They'll
here.
give up in a drought.
And in 19, they actually got very droopy. It's the only time I've ever seen it.
Yeah. So 1920. Yeah, I remember a guy over the back of Taitoa. He said it's the driest he'd ever seen it in the 40 years he'd lived over there. And we had a shed fire, and they were chucking. I went over there because I was the only one on the 4-wheel drive, and they were jumping on there with their level 2s, which is your structural firefighting gear. I said, get your level 1s, because by the time we get there, it'll be and it had done. It burnt 6 hectares. So it's just from a shed catching on fire that was solar batteries, solar panel and batteries. Obviously a rat or something had eaten through and gone. So there's all those things to think about. In here, I've only got they're pretty hard. I haven't got many of them, but this is a book that's put out by the organisation, and it's Wildfire Safer Housing Guide. You probably share it in the community. I mean, you've probably already got your houses made, but it's been done on specs. Most of it's overseas stuff about good design and just some considerations about what we've been talking about. Looking at your houses pre-season and thinking, oh well, have I done these certain things? Keeping a defendable space around your property. I mean, you can have a tree against your house, but what's the gutter like where the tree is? So just doing those sort of things. I mean, it's a lot of Australia's a lot different, but I don't know climate change and what it's going to do, whether we wet or dry, who knows. But either way it's going to be an extreme. So being prepared is the best thing, and it sounds like you guys are wanting to. So
Is there a link on fence site
Yep.
for that booklet
Yep.
so we can actually
Yep.
maybe put it
Yep.
into our blog?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've got quite a bit of stuff, but
If it's not, we'll be able to find you one and get you a copy.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
they're pretty rare. That's the problem. They gave me out to the district and regional councils, mainly because it's a lot of it's to do with building compliance stuff as well. But yeah, I'll leave a copy with you guys too.
So let's go to Nicole about water supplies, because I know there's a couple of big tanks up there, but you've only got a 1/2-inch line or something coming down, which is just a waste of time. So what sort of water supplies you got each house?
Where's the tank supply from the
2-inch. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah.
And does it have a coupling? Like one of our couplings? Does
It doesn't have one of our couplings on it anywhere, does it?
It doesn't, no.
So you've just got at the entrance to each section, you've got a hydrant type thing?
No.
No. Okay, so there's no way of getting into it unless we cut it. So have you got water tanks at each house?
Yeah. We're
What
supposed to
size?
keep a minimum of 10,000 litres.
Yeah, I think that's part of the council's
Yeah.
ones for around here, hey?
And
Yeah.
some people have a couple of tanks.
Yeah.
Three.
And I talked about the coupling, so the 100 mil coupling and stuff for us to have on. So I'm aware they do cost a certain amount, and we can
You fit
We
those at the
can
same
get
time as the
into-
fire extinguishers? I mean, the smoke alarms, or
sorry.
you just fit one of those at the same time as you're fitting the smoke alarms? or-
Not quite, not quite. But the like I said, we can get into the tanks from the top, but you've got to be aware that, for example, we're having our portable pump that can take 2 to 4 people. They have to lift that up onto the top to get that done. We've got the other way is putting in what we call a B type, and you've got the kink in the hose, so that's going to restrict a lot of the water, and all of that takes a lot of time. So there's those things to consider when you're looking at price compared to losing absolutely everything. For people that haven't got to the stage of having a home there yet, there's other things of like installing the home sprinklers and all that type of thing, which aren't as costly as they used to be as well. So that's another thing to think about. And in all honesty, I was talking to Kevin Hunt today. He went on a bit of a chat with me in regards to water supply and having all that there. It's also the time factor as well of us. This is what we're going towards, that home sprinkler side, to try to recommend that to as many people, because you got the fact that we're coming from Maratā and how long it takes to get up to here to the home, potentially right at the
10,
top,
15 minutes.
and in that time, you've got a room can be gone within 3 minutes in a fire, right? So you can put that into play on compared to getting a tank with the expensive connections, all that type of thing, or getting a home sprinkler system, which not as bad as it used to. But again, that would come down to having water source and stuff as well. That would be the other thing.
Are we talking a couple of $1,000s to have that thing attached? So
Well, what it means is, like, you don't have to put a different set of pipes in. I know the fire service at one stage was trying to make it law in New Zealand that for all new houses, that on your water intake you had a little pressure pump, and that all your water pipes went through the ceiling. So if you flushed the toilet and the water didn't work, you know the sprinklers aren't going to work. So if everything else is working, your sprinklers will work. And so if you've got a fire, it will just spray that room.
Yeah,
And
not like
so
in the movies.
all you're really talking about is an extra pump, hey?
Yeah.
And because all your water lines would be the same, they just go through the ceiling rather than underneath.
Oh, so you just branch off from those as opposed to...
Yeah, well, the
separate
same,
plumbing
the same.
lines.
You get your main go down each side of your hallway, and so you branch off that to your sprinklers. But the same water is feeding your toilets and your bath and your shower and all that, and that's a surety. You know, some people used to put in separate systems, and when they needed it, the damn thing didn't work, and they didn't know. But this way, you'll know whether it's going to work or
You
not,
don't have
because
to
you use
test it.
taps every day.
Yeah, I wouldn't know the price of it though, unfortunately. But we can look at there'll be, like every place, there'll be quotes for different pricing and stuff like that. So unfortunately, I won't be able to give you that. But water source for us is a priority, as I'm sure you can imagine. To give you an idea, if we were to get we can have a first alarm. So for a structure fire, it's usually 2 appliances. So that'll be us and Edgecombe. usually, and during certain times of the year, or depending on where we're going, they would automatically attach a tank. So if they know it's what we call a non-reticulated area, there'll be Edgecombe's water tanker that'll come as well. So that's going to help with the water source and that type of thing. But again, you've got to remember the time delay of that actually getting to us. To give you a rough idea, our appliance with our water that we've got currently, it's probably 2,000 litres. So it's probably about we'll be out of it in like 7 minutes, if that. So that'll give you a rough idea on the time that we need. Another person here, another appliance here to get more water.
So the appliance has got 2,000 litres.
Yep.
And the tanker would have what?
It used to be 14,000.
10, yeah, it's 10. So other areas like in Tauranga and Western Bay of Plenty, they have a requirement for 45,000 litres. To give you a rough idea, that's based on calculations of how many litres per minute is used. And
Edgecombe
some
trucks
maths.
have only got 1,500 litres on them.
Yeah.
Because they're not rural trucks, they're urban trucks. We've got sort of a rural truck.
which we're changing in February. So
Yeah,
we're getting less water,
We're getting less water in
but
there.
a nicer truck.
But yeah, so just be aware of that, is that we'll come as fast as we can. It just takes a little bit longer for us to get here, and we will try and bring water with us. But we did a fire up with the road a while, 8 years ago, and when we got there, we actually had to take 4 guys to get the portable pump on 2 ladders, lift it up on top of the platform, start it up and all that. It took about 10 minutes. Luckily there were a few crews by then, but it just takes time.
So we've got 3 30,000 litre tanks, but they're capped for the storm surge. So they'll be at full. They'll be a total of 75, not 90,000
Yep.
litres. So probably from your point of view, if we put a coupling there somewhere, that gives you a resource.
Yep.
For sure.
Because see, Ross's, you've got they're 2 30,000 litre tanks too, are they? Yeah. So combined, as well as everybody else's, roughly 10,000. We've actually got quite a lot of water here. It's just making sure that you can use it.
Yep.
And that we can get to it, like Paul mentioned before, the hard stand. So certain
Yeah.
to be able to safely park our appliances there and fill up. There's
Yeah.
requirements on what we can't just pull into a field in case we get stuck, and it's not going to help anyone. And that type of thing, and a certain distance on where these tanks are as well. So if it's right next to the house, it's not going to be much use to us because it'll probably be starting to melt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we see
yeah.
our tanks are down behind the shed,
Yes.
so away from the
Yep.
house. That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We'd take 2. We usually run with a crew of 4 or 5. Hopefully, if there's more people around, we just chuck them in the medical van and we all come up. But it'll take at least 2 people to take the pump down, plus the hoses, and then take them 5 minutes to set it up, and then run the hoses back to the truck and all that. It all takes time. But yeah, it's unavoidable.
What distance is the maximum distance that you can put out from a tank to with your portable pump? Distance, because we have 60 litres, but 60,000 litres.
But we relay pump from
Yeah, we can
portable
relay
pump
it.
to the
So
truck.
it depends on
Yep.
the space.
We wouldn't be able to
90
get
metres.
your
Yeah.
vehicle close to us.
Yeah, I was gonna say
150 metres in
Okay.
town, they say, is
Yeah.
you meant to have a hydrant within 150 metres of any house, but you could double or triple that because we'll have a portable pump on there. So that's not an issue.
Yeah,
It's
there's
just
a
the
lot of-
time it takes for someone to get out there and look it up. But certainly having a connection point in the place of your tank will just save huge time.
The new thing a lot of people are going towards now are those bladders as well, if you've seen those on some farms. Obviously not to the extent of some of the ones on the farms, but they're also doing bladders as well, which I've heard from others that is a cheap alternative. And if you've got a really big pool that's going to be full all the time, is fantastic as well. So when it comes, for an example, when it comes through to us as part of the council to look into the firefighter watering supplies, if that's a requirement, we're looking at other available resources as well before we say, no, you need a tank. So we're looking to see if there's something nearby. Some people have their own bores, or some people are next to a river or something that's always got water in it all the time, but it's an accessible river for us. It's not all the way 100 metres down the cliff or anything like that. So but yeah, water sources probably, especially into those drier months, is the main one. So if you can look, we would recommend looking into those connections. And there's plenty of people out there do them, so shop around for quotes and stuff. Everyone's has
Well,
a
it should be fairly simple.
yeah.
And so it's 100 outlet.
Yeah.
You're coupling to 100.
Yeah, it goes into 100 thread. Yeah.
So most of the kind of goes into your tank. They're just
So the other thing to think about,
It's draining your tank to get your coupling on though, that's the problem.
Yeah, but you got a valve. Out of the tank you got your valve, and then you got the coupling joint there, so you hook it up. When you're ready, you turn on your valve, and
But the
So you gotta have the
outlets-
valve.
outlets are reduced for normal water down to 25, so that's the problem.
the other one is having a decent garden hose system around your place. I mean, we've got from new house. You know, have you got enough garden hose? You know, if you've got two, can they go right around your property and out to the edge? You know, because that's the key. You know, I mean, you know, because like Gavin was saying, you know, the time it takes for a brigade to get here, something small can turn to something big. So, I mean, we don't recommend you go out and fight your fire in your house with it, but if you had to, you've got it. You know, with the hose.
you know when you put a fire out, it's not the strength of the jet. It's actually the spread of the water vapor, because what you're not trying to actually blow the flame out, you're trying to atomize and cool the surrounding area, and that will the fire. When we do scrub fires, what we do is we get a hose and we literally run, and we just, you know, not a straight, we go like that, and we just spray it all around, wet it all of a sudden. We just don't spend time there. And so once you damp it down, then you go back and deal with it. So garden hose is pretty good, because you go in there and atomise and cool it down. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
So you can do a lot of damage with a hose, just by not doing it as a jet but as a vapour. I remember when we did the Matata school fire, we had to go around and tell the person on the other side of the building, could you please put on spray, because they're firing through one window, out the other window, and they're hitting us on the ground. So it's about your spray, you know, not that, but like that, and you achieve huge amounts.
Yeah.
You all good with the water, Nicole?
Yep.
Can we just go back about the exit route?
Yeah.
So if you've got a fire that starts at the bottom, you're saying it goes up the gullies as well as up the ridges, but don't the gullies try and climb up?
They'll just keep doing. I was just thinking about when I came in, I was looking to see where fire would go. You know, you kind of it would go with fingers, so it would go up. It depends where it started, but yeah, so there's places where it will go slow and places it will go fast. It'll go faster probably on the ridge, but you know, it kind of tends to follow the gully.
Yeah.
Because fire doesn't go downhill very well.
So from a rural fire point of view, what's the thing about exit routes is that you wouldn't go up, you'd go down, wouldn't you?
You probably, I mean, I was thinking for safety here, I mean, looking at the bush that's around here, and if you're at the house, you probably nearly want to stay in place, because you've listened to the advice and you've made yourself a defendable area, and just you hunker down, have sprinklers, garden sprinklers, put them out there front, and just hunker down. If it's daytime, maybe you can also get a chopper out, but it would go reasonably, you know, it would come from the bottom up reasonably quick and be gone. You know, if this was at a different vegetation type, we might be talking about, you know, you think about an alternative exit, because you've got no alternative exit.
What about going sideways and down? No.
Where the hell are they going to go sideways?
Right.
No, don't go in the bush.
So you don't want to go down either. You just want to get out in the biggest open grass area you can around your place.
I mean, from here, because it wasn't that far up. I don't know. I can't picture what's up there, but I mean, you possibly could barrel down there in your car. I don't think the fire
Just
intensity.
don't leave it too late.
Yeah, don't leave it too late. You know, you see.
And watch out for us.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, it's a single lane, and you kind of single, but you kind of nearly better wait in place.
Okay, so if they stayed in the vicinity of their house, even if you've got houses that the trees are within 10 metres, is you just get in the most open space possible and get your sprinklers going.
So our recommendation is you fill your gutters up with water. Put tennis ball in your gutter, so then just fill them full of water. So then you got that. Fill your bath up. So then you got to, because plastic melts. Your plastic piping can melt, so you got no. Well, at least you got water in your bath. The whole lot of stuff. I mean, Australia, and you see those things on TV, and they've got these horrendous fires. I'm not picking that you'd have that sort of fire behaviour here.
Slower.
Yeah, slower. And you'd see, I mean, if you see smoke coming up, go down, You'll know if you've turned around and come back, but
the worst danger with any fire is leaving it too late before you do something.
that's right.
So Nicole, what would you, from that point of view, do you agree with Paul? Or is he
Yeah,
talking shit?
Probably. Most
temptation,
of my
no.
life, though, that's how you tell it.
No, I was thinking the
That's how you
same thing.
deliver that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. The risk of, again, depending on what stage the fire is, if there's a fire that happens to come up, the risk of going down and then getting stuck or surrounding you from other areas is too high. So I argue that hunker down, especially the part with the gutters, filling those with water, with those tennis balls, that was good. And then if you've got those hose systems or some type of garden sprinklers and stuff like that. Like Paul said, the likelihood is not high.
But you wouldn't stay in the house, would you? You'd get out somewhere.
Well,
I mean, unless your house is not on fire, you'd be safe inside by shutting
yeah,
the
and then
windows.
that for the smoke and all that type of stuff, that's protecting you from that as well.
I mean, that shed there, here's an example. That shed there, it's a goner. Okay, it's a
Because
goner.
it's a bit close.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fire's going to come up that hill. It depends what kind of cladding. It's going to be steel clad, maybe. Maybe it might be all right. But if it was timber clad,
I wouldn't think so.
it would be got cedar boards on it to make it look quite
Organised.
cool. It would be a goner. Very nice. So that's something to think about, I actually, what I might do is when we go dry, I'll come for another drive up here. Then if I change my thoughts, I'll tell you. Because it's hard.
I would take the opportunity to actually drive around the whole estate because every property's just
do it
slightly
different.
unique.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a classic example. I should have pointed out before. That shed there with the vegetation type. You got carnuka there. With the carnuka, the flowers, and the bananas behind you. But that's it's right there against the vegetation, and it's on the top of it's on top of a hill, so fire goes up because as the fire's going up, it's preheating ahead of it, and it's just every 10 degrees it doubles its speed.
Can I ask a question about
You go for it.
batteries, rechargeable batteries?
Yeah.
I've seen a bit of TV on this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that Carol and I talked about, and I was charging my phone beside the bed and realised just how dangerous that really is. So now at least it charges in the bathroom, so that you're not, if it caught fire, you're not actually getting out of bed to a fire that's where you're going to immediately, your reaction would be to get out that side of the bed. Is that real, or are those things that we should think about?
Wise guy, hey? See,
Yeah. We were literally talking about it before.
Didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things with all the lithium batteries and all that type of thing. A lot of the fire safety messaging that we're putting out at the moment is to ensure like the how you're charging it. All right, so making sure it's the correct charger for starters is a big one.
You don't overcharge it.
Yeah, don't overcharge them, don't have them on charge all the time. If you can charge during the day when you're active, awake, able to see, right, is better. Obviously having smoke alarms in every bedroom and hallway and living space, right? That's a big one.
Well, being new homes, we should all be compliant.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That was fantastic. I love that. And with lithium, like I literally on Tuesday afternoon, I got a call to a house fire in Pavamore. I'm not sure if you've seen it on the news recently, where the poor cat had died, unfortunately. That was a drone battery. So he was charging his fishing drone. It's new. He's never had any issues with it in the past that he can recall. I used it a number of times, have charged it for 10 minutes, popped out to go pick up the kids from school, come back, houses. And those lithium batteries, they hold fast. So when I mentioned the whole 3 minutes for a room with the lithium batteries, that's nearly a whole house. So they travel really, really fast. So with those, and just keeping an eye on it when you're charging those types of things, don't just leave it in a room and walk away. Lithium batteries are scary.
Yeah.
They're becoming a very scary thing. Disposing of them as well. So I'm not sure if anyone vapes or anything like that. Just making sure you're disposing of them properly, taking them to the recycling centres, not putting them in our general rubbish, because that's how our rubbish trucks catch on fire.
So we had someone in Gisborne chucked a lithium battery into their rubbish, chucked it into the system, went to their land transfer station, put it in a truck, because they also take their rubbish to Turahonga up here. So 1:30 in the morning in Matata, we get this urgent fire call to a truck on fire, and it was a refuge truck and trailer unit, and the front one, it was just smoking. So we sat there for 2 hours, brought out the Edgecombe tank, and we just drowned it. Did it work? No. So we had to drive it to out of town. They took it to Whakatane transfer station. The only way they got it out was dump it all on the ground and find it and go psst, and then it was good. So they're horrible things.
Yeah.
And one of the other things is that older batteries are okay. They're not quite so bad.
No, yeah,
It's the modern
not
ones
as
because
bad.
they're charging quicker
Yeah.
and they heat up more.
Yeah, but to give you an idea, we also had a fire. One of my colleagues had one. It was a stored battery of, I think it was like a helicopter, remote helicopter, being stored for 5 years. Decided
Yeah, those
hadn't
drone
even-
batteries are particularly
Yeah.
bad because they're a different chemistry
Mm.
and they're super high energy
Yeah.
density because they want to keep the weight down.
Yeah.
So they're super volatile.
exactly those and the e-bikes, e-scooters, all those types of things. Are just never charge those inside the house if you can avoid it, or if you're in sight of it the whole time.
So a lot of fire stuff, including what you're doing here, is that common sense with a little bit of education. We went to a fire the other day, brigade didn't, but Nicole and I did, and they had a caravan parked outside their house, and they stretched the lead into the bedroom, and it was sort of like 3 different leads. One of them was a bit wonky, and the guy reckoned, he told me, the guy that got badly burnt, he told me that he had got a couple of sparks off it, a couple of times over the past few days. They did nothing about it, and all of a sudden it caught fire to the mattress, burnt the daylights out of the room. He went in and dragged the mattress outside, had horrific burns. They nearly flew him to Auckland. Common sense, if you're getting a few sparks off electrical cords, just like your common sense with your batteries, common sense with everything else, act on it.
Overloading power points,
Because
all
at
that kind
the
of
time when you don't really think it's going to happen, it will. When I first moved into my house on a power cable from the local pole, I had it into a multi-plug box, and off every plug I had another multi-plug box. I had my hot water cylinder illegally wired up. I had everything on. It was middle of winter, and the old mother-in-law decided she'd boil the jug at the same time she's doing something. At the same time I did that, and up in the multi-plug box. I was just really lucky. So common sense.
Especially in that winter time when you're using heaters and stuff like that, they use a lot of power. So if you've got things plugged into your multi-board, and then you've got your heater and you're using something else at the same time, they're not really designed for that, and you just overload it, and that can cause a surge or some type of electrical fault that ends up creating a fire. Especially if you've got like a lot of people, they kind of put them under the bed or they behind the curtain and that type of stuff. So it's just that all that fuel that's around it loves that kind of stuff. So even just giving your cords and stuff like that a little bit of a dust every now and then. Same with smoke alarms. You're supposed to check them monthly, but every now and then, just with a little duster, just do a bit of a dust around it, just so you're not getting those potential false alarms and stuff as well, which doesn't want to turn into the boy who cried wolf.
Any other questions?
I had one, but you answered. It's about medical.
Yep.
That you respond first. I just wondered.
So we're a medical first response brigade. So everyone, and 90% of the people in our brigade have been trained up to that first responder level, which is the next one up from, used to be old FEC course, eh? In fact, the bottom people on the ambulances are all first responders. So, whereas the other fire brigades in town, they'll go with the ambulance to do CPR, they send us out first. So we go to strokes, we go to anaphylactic, we do everything. So we've got, we're not allowed to do intravenous injections, but we do intramuscular for adrenaline, and we do asthmatics, we do all sorts of stuff. So dial your ambulance and then ask them to send us.
Excellent.
Anything else?
No, very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you very much for the info.
I thank Paul, McCall and Gavin for taking the time to come up and meet with us. And you're more than welcome if you're driving through to pop up and have a look. And any more insights would be definitely helpful for us. But yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll leave a box of propaganda there.
Great.
Sounds good.
We'll sell it on the dark web.
Yeah.
That's
We'll
where I
go
got
for
it.
millions and talk.
If anyone
Well,
wants a cup of tea or some biscuits, I brought some with me. Yeah.
Have any of you got any other questions I might be able to ask that's not related to fire brigades?
Did you get the Ross changed the phone number for the text?
You've got the new,
Yep.
The new number?
Yep, we've got that. One of our guys tested it the other day, and it was.
Great.
We realised it was wrong, so I think I came to you, didn't I? Yep. So we've now got that in both our vehicles.
And that actually just means that we sort of just need to be mindful that if we do it again, that we need to make sure, and it's something we didn't think about, so we certainly will in the future.
But we also know how to
Got
get
the
in
worst
through the
case.
side.
Exactly, yeah, it's not hard to get
That's
to
true.
that.
You can just
But
run
pretty good.
It's not you guys checking out the boxes at once,
You do get the local Rangataiki. Charles meant to pick up the latest one. Rangataiki, the Metatar news that the council puts out, which is now going to be Rangataiki for the whole plains. I'm going to pick it up today and forgot. But yeah, so that's
The
trying to get stuff in there.
Matatar residents and ratepayers, I'm on that on Facebook, and
Yep.
that gives you heaps of
Yep,
information about
very
stuff.
good, eh?
Yeah,
If you're not on that, just log on to Facebook for Metatar Resident Association.
it's really good.
Yeah, they've got, and same with us, like for our page, if we're putting any warnings or anything else, we put it on both of those pages as well. So yeah, like the normal token Metatar local one and the association page, and of
It's
course
really
our
good,
own.
yeah. Well, it's good even when there's been accidents in Pukawai Strait.
Yeah,
You know, just a load of stuff. It's been really
We
good.
do try to actually put it on the residents page if you do a normal car accident up there, and even though no one's died or anything like that, but it's a real vicious one, and it looks like they might pass away or may not, the cops treat it as a homicide, just shut the whole thing down, and you can kiss goodbye to 4 to 5 hours, because they'll want to photograph it, and they GPS every little mark on the road and all their road markings and everything else. It just takes it forever. So trying to do that. I know that at the moment the council is trying to, we're going to do Manawahay Road, we're going to do $400,000 or $500,000 worth to make sure it never floods again, because we had the bad situation in May where the rotor markers had collapsed, and they were shut down for days. We had a vicious accident on the Straits, and they had the flood of Manawahay Lake, and we were cut off. The only way you can go is up the top of the dam and head out towards Murupara, if that was the only way in. So I know from my dealings with Wakotae through the Eastern Bay Road Safety Operational Group I chair for all our councils, is that Wakotae are really thinking of how they can strategise to make the straits safer so they don't ever close again. But with a change in government, that might be knocked on the head, so we don't know where that's going. That'll take 10 years for them to plan it and then do it and find the money. So there's a bit of that drama going on.
It's good to see a community like yourselves to be commended, pulling together and trying to, nut a few things out and be prepared, so well done.
Yeah,
I
that
think
pamphlet
that's
is awesome. That was very cool. Had a good read through that. It was some
Well,
awesome
this currently
information
been
in there.
printed, so that we were hoping to get them back today, but they're not here yet, so I'll be getting it out very shortly, everyone.
I had to print it twice.
What, so you keep another copy for yourself?
No, because
or
one upside down.
what?
Anything
anything else, Paul, that you can think of?
No, I think it's
least you
they
didn't
want
have to go
to
three
go
times, mate.
home and watch Shortland Street or something, don't they?
Just a question, sorry, I should have brought it up here, but the couplings, what's the cost of the couplings?
We don't know, we don't
bucks,
buy
couple $100, I think.
No,
Yeah.
Bloody expensive.
Yeah, I think they're about
It's nothing these
350. I looked at it.
350.
350.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
When I looked
Have
at
you guys got
putting, I was looking at putting one in ours, and then I thought, nah, that you could probably drop a submersible pump in.
Is there one on the community supplies?
No,
Oh, there's none on the community
Talking
supplies?
about
We
the
should probably
pumps,
do that as a-
what's the footprint size-wise of the pump that you'd use to draw out of the top of the tank?
It's that by that, it stands out.
It depends. They are all different depending on
Yeah,
their
yeah, so
appliance.
no,
that you
so you're
use.
looking at
Yeah,
about, what's
let's
it,
just have
800,
ideas
900
to-
by,
Putting
No,
a
just-
coupling
it's
off that
800
Just a
by
thought,
600.
And where's that? Can
rather
we
than
access that?
couplings, if you had an actual stand
Yep.
right next to your tank, you could put your pump onto that.
Oh, that would be, yeah.
So what
That's a potential
what
option.
Withy Road has done, you know, up when you go up Withy Road, there's that forestry block there that used to be forestry, and they've now got houses all through it. They've got where the road divides left and right. They've got two main sets of tanks, and from that they're set back from the road, but they have a pipe come straight out from the tank, straight to say from here to there from the roadside, and there's your coupling and your valve, and so we can stop on the roadside, plug in, and then
So when you
pump
say
to the next
roadside,
truck.
where you think you actually mean not on the road?
Where the transformer is,
Oh, okay, yeah.
that's the end of the 2-inch line, so there's plenty of pressure there.
first transformer or second transformer?
2-inch, give us enough
One
water.
just past Den's place, Den's in.
Oh, that one. Oh, yeah.
Just
yeah.
before them.
Pressure.
That could be that could be a hydrant connection there.
Yeah, 2 inches a little bit. We use 4 inch.
It would have to be enlarged, but there's plenty of pressure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. That's something for you.
Is it something worth thinking about, or?
For sure.
It is.
I have to talk to Nicole about that. She's in charge of water.
Oh, okay.
I'm not in charge of water.
Water boy, water girl.
Yeah, water good. Yeah. But otherwise, we've also got, like I mentioned before, those home fire safety visits. So if something that you guys are keen on doing, then we can set that up with our crew. Whether we use our community guys or we use some of our volunteers to assist, we can get it smashed out. If that's something that you're interested in doing. All free. And if you haven't already got in some of the place, even if you're not right in the home yet, or you're in some other temporary unit or something like that, we are happy to put smoke alarms and stuff up for that type of thing as well.
Cool.
Excellent. Thank you.
Gorgeous.
Good.
Thank you.
I've got two loving at my Feijoa tree at the moment.